Today I'm at the trial gardens for Spring Meadow Nursery, the home of the Proven Winners Color Choice Shrubs. And we're going to take you for a walk through these gardens and show you all of the beautiful shrubs that are blooming now in June. There's so many gorgeous colors here behind me. So let's go ahead and start taking a walk and talking about all the beautiful blooms that are going on right now. Abelia Sweet Emotion is hardy in zones 4 to 8, and it's absolutely got a breathtaking fragrance. If I could just portray it to you somehow, I don't even know how to. It's just so sweet and so lovely as we were walking through here in the garden. This plant gets about 4 to 5 foot tall and 4 to 5 foot wide and likes to be grown in full sun to part shade locations. It's more of a spring blooming shrub, although it's June right now, so let's say late spring, early summer. And it's pollinator friendly, beautiful for hedges, a nice specimen plant. This plant is just something I think I need to find a space for in my garden because the fragrance is just so breathtaking. Planting it by like a front window underneath a bedroom window that you'll open, just super sweet smelling plant. This plant is one that you would trim after it's done flowering, so it blooms on the old growth. So if you feel that the plant needs to be trimmed at all, you would do so after it's done flowering. This beautiful planting here consists of about, I'm guessing there's about 5 or 6 plants here in this trial garden, and just really a beautiful display of white to light pink flowers. And again, the fragrance is really what this plant speaks mostly to me about, is just the fragrance of the blooms. So Illuminati Tower is hardy in zones 4 to 7. It gets about 5 to 6 foot tall and about 3 to 4 foot wide. So a nice columnar upright style of shrub. It can be grown in full sun to part shade locations, and it's a spring blooming shrub. So spring meaning right now it's June, so blooms, end of May, beginning of June. It will kind of depend on the season and of course where you live. This plant blooms off of the old growth, so if you feel like trimming needs to be done, we recommend trimming after it is done flowering. It's a pollinator friendly plant. We're watching the native bees and the bumblebees just really enjoy this plant. Also very fragrant, deer resistant. So if you're looking to check deer resistant off your list, this is a deer resistant shrub. It's great for making borders. If you're looking to create kind of a hedge that's about 5 to 6 foot tall, it would make an excellent hedge with the beautiful spring flowering blooms. This here is the mock orange Illuminati Tower. This is a huge hedgerow of the Sonic Bloom Magilla. It is the beginning of June right now, and this plant is just in its full glory. Look at all those beautiful pink blooms lining up and down the stems. No part of this plant is left behind when it comes to flower coverage. Let's go ahead and take a closer look here at the Sonic Bloom Magilla. The Sonic Bloom Pink Magilla is hardy in zones 4 to 8, and it gets about 4 to 5 foot tall. Although these plants that we're looking at right now are very, very mature specimens and are slightly taller than that. It likes to be grown in a full sun location, and this is a re-blooming Magilla. So your first spring bloom, which we're seeing here right now, I think is the most floriferous or the most amount of blooms, but really to bloom 2 to 3 times throughout the summer, this plant has excellent re-bloom on it. If you do feel like you do need to do any trimming on this plant, we would recommend trimming it after its first round of blooms. And really that shouldn't sacrifice your other blooms throughout the season, because we found even after trimming this, we do get additional blooms. This is a pollinator friendly plant. We've been watching the black swallowtails and huge bumblebees enjoy these beautiful pink tubular flowers. It's a great plant for a specimen, or as you can see here, to create a beautiful flowering hedge. This is a deer resistant shrub, so if you need to check that off the list, this is one you can check off the list as being deer resistant. So if you're just looking to add beautiful masses of color throughout the summer with this re-blooming Magilla that blooms not once, not twice, but up to 3 times throughout the summer, consider giving the Sonic Bloom Pink Magilla a try. Here we have a Spirea blue Kazoo. Look at the beautiful white blooms on this plant. It has got great foliage as well. They're just kind of dancing in the breeze here in the middle of June. Let's go in and take a little bit closer look here at the flowers and foliage of blue Kazoo. Spirea blue Kazoo is hardy in zones 3 to 8. It gets about 2 to 3 foot tall and wide and likes to be grown in full sun to part shade locations. This is a spring flowering shrub. Right now it's like June, and it's really in its full bloom going on right now. It has great foliage though in the spring, summer, and in the fall. This plant would be best suited to be trimmed after it's done flowering if you feel like trimming does need to be done. This is a beautiful pollinator friendly plant. We're seeing some really cool bumblebees checking it out right now. Also, it is slightly deer resistant. It makes a great low growing hedge or border or foundation plant with these beautiful white flowers that just add so much to this plant. Not only does it have the great flowers, it's got beautiful foliage as well when it's not in bloom. The Checkmark Trilogy Wagilla. This is an amazing plant. Just look at this beautiful hedgerow of color. So many variations of bloom color. Let's go in and take a closer look at this plant. Checkmark Trilogy is hardy in zones 4 to 8. It gets about 3 to 3.5 tall and wide. Here you can see it's got kind of a nice loose forming habit, although I think if you kept it trimmed up, you could keep it more of a tidier, maintained look to this plant. It grows in full sun locations, and as the name implies, trilogy or 3, you get 3 different color blooms on one plant. You get the beautiful hot pink magenta blooms, some lighter pink blooms, and then some beautiful white blooms. So the bloom color is dependent on where it's at in its bloom cycle. So the fresher, newer blooms are emerging. It looks like the fresher blooms are more pink, and as they age, they turn to the lighter pink and then white. This is definitely one of those shrubs that's got tip to toe color all the way up and down the stems. Is just loaded with these beautiful blooms. The pollinators on this plant too are just having a heyday. Big giant bumblebees just loaded with pollen. This plant blooms in the spring, June, and if you need to trim it at all, we do recommend doing so after it's done flowering, as it blooms on the old growth. Like I said, beautiful plant for the pollinators. The bumblebees are just everywhere. Moderate deer resistant, so a plant definitely that you could give a try if you do have deer as an issue. Makes a nice hedging plant or border or foundation. If you're looking for a plant that just gives you a mass of color in early June, consider giving the Checkmark Trilogy Wagilla a try. Vino Verde Wagilla. Let's go in and take a closer look at this beautiful plant. So the thing that's really unique about this particular Wagilla is that it's got bicolor foliage, beautiful green and burgundy edging, and it's got nice bright pink magenta blooms, which are great for the hummingbirds and the butterflies. This plant is hardy in zones 5 to 8 and gets about 3 to 5 foot tall and wide. So a nice upright, or just a nice mounding type habit. It likes to grow in full sun. And as shown, it's got great foliage and great flowers. So not only is the flower interesting in the early summer, but the foliage takes you all the way through the fall. If you feel like you need to do any trimming on this plant, we recommend doing so after it's done flowering, as it blooms on the old growth. Pollinator friendly, like I mentioned, the hummingbirds and the butterflies and the bumblebees just love the flowers. Moderate deer resistant, and it's a nice shrub for making a low growing hedge. So if you're looking for a plant that not only has beautiful flower, but great foliage to add interest to your garden just year round, consider giving the Wagilla Vino Verde a try. Thank you for walking through this beautiful shrub trial garden with me today. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. If you're new to our station, we encourage you to subscribe. And as always, if there's anything we talked about today that you're interested in, you can check us out at gardencrossings.com, and we can mail you these directly to your door. Thanks for watching. I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings.